listening to 101 Part-Time Jobs, where I ask bands about the jobs they've had between tours and making records. And on today's episode, Eades, whose album Delusion Spree is one of my favourites of the year. You can catch him in August. That is next month now. Birmingham on the 7th, Edinburgh on the 8th, Glasgow on the 9th, Birkenhead on the 26th of August, Sheffield on the 24th. And then if you fancy going to Rotterdam to Left of the Dial Festival at the end of October, well, you can. I'm joined by Tom O'Reilly and Sam Wilde on this episode, which is supported by 2000 Trees, which is now sold out. I'll be heading down straight after recording this. And before this weekend even happens, they've got the first release of 2000 Trees 2023 on sale at 20% off the normal price. They'll be on sale at this price until Sunday, 17th of July through Dice or their website, 2000treesfestival.co.uk. If you are a serious planner, then this one might be for you. I've been told it's going to be bigger and better as they sold out this year. So if you want to go to 2000 Trees next year with 20% off, you can. Here's Eades on 101 Part-Time Jobs. Go well. I think about how much money people spend rehearsing.
Yeah, and everybody wants to rehearse from 5 till 9 as well. That's what, like, everybody, no matter what capacity you play music to, that's when everyone wants to rehearse after work.
You got to fight some people to get there.
Yeah. It's very hard. People book months in advance. Like,
what do we pay? We pay like 40 quid for 3 hours, I think.
That's pretty standard, isn't it?
Yeah.
If you're rehearsing 3 times a week, it does like add up. You know, you're doing. It's like an extra cost that you've got to put into the whole of living and everything, isn't it?
Did you rehearse a lot in Eades or in previous bands? Have you've how many hours do you reckon you've racked up?
Oh God,
in practice rooms.
Impossible to say. I mean, most of us have been in like 10 plus bands each. Right. Yeah, it's probably the same for Harry, and I'm guessing you, Sam.
I've been in probably like 6, 7.
This band, Eades, definitely rehearses more than any other band I've been in. We used to rent our lockup off Sam.
I used to rent a lockup because I was using it for rehearsing in another band I was in, and it was like a split, kind of like a communal lockup. There was an artist there, and then there was another band, and then there was my band, and then I over lockdown started using it for like other projects, and then so I wasn't in Eades over because I joined later on. So these guys were actually rehearsing in the lockup, so we did like a monthly thing where they would pay, I think it was like £100 a month, and they could rehearse as much as they wanted.
See, by that point, you're already kind of like organising your life around this stuff.
Oh yeah. That's
our whole lives have been organising our life around the music.
Delusion Spree is so fucking good. It's so much fun.
Thank you very much.
Came out in March. Well, it's kind of I always wonder that period of time between, because you got the album tour. And kind of everything is sort of geared up and wrapped around that. I wonder what it's like when that tour ended.
Yeah, back to life, back to reality. I actually lost my job doing the album tour. Speaking of part-time jobs.
Oh no!
Because not only was I using sick days to do the tour before that with Landhammer, I only got 2 weeks holiday left for our tour that was 3 weeks. So the end of it was all sick days. And they just clocked on, and it became quickly apparent that I was going to get fired the next time I went in. So I just had to leave. But that's the discipline, Giles. That's what it takes.
So you left before you could give him you didn't give him a chance.
They gave him the option.
My manager, you either leave today or when you next come in, you will get fired.
So they gave him the option of leaving or getting fired. So
I think there's a duality to that, because on one hand, it's like, well, yeah, you know, you made a choice, you made a decision, you probably made it a while, you know, you might have checked out of it.
Oh yeah,
mentally
it was
a while ago. But on one side, it's like, fuck, what are you? You know, it's actually quite sad. At least I feel like, and I've been sacked from quite a few jobs, and there is still a little part where a part of me that wants to cry a little bit, you know, because it's sad.
I definitely wanted to cry when I saw the paycheck at the end of the month. Because I had to leave, I didn't get paid any of my holiday pay, and they didn't pay me for the sick days that I took because they cottoned on. So I did not make as much as I thought.
They took your rights away from you.
That's it. I was scrambling for a job. And luckily, thanks to Sam, he helped me out with this. I got a job. Well, potentially have a job at a pasta place.
A pasta or pasty?
A pasta.
Called
It's
Sato.
funny.
It's like a fancy pasta restaurant. They do
Nice.
wonderful pasta.
What's the situation?
I've got a trial shift on Friday, and it's all looking positive.
Here we go.
And
Love that.
they're very good with like flexibility, aren't they?
Yeah, that's what I need. Because I was working at Zara before that, and you have X amount of holidays, and if you have a ridiculously big gig come in, there's nobody there that's like, oh, we understand how big that is for you. Of course you can do that. They are just like, they have to be by the book. Like, no, you have X amount of holidays. You can't book it in now. You have to just not do the gig or quit the job.
Do you think you're at peace with it?
Yeah, I made my peace with that a long time ago. Because life would be easier if I could just stay in one job and not have to work around going to gigs like every single week and coming into the manager and telling them that yeah, I can't do next week for this reason. It's a really big deal. All that stuff. And keeping jobs would be a nice thing. Because I've done loads of jobs now. I've worked in bars, retail. I've been a car parking assistant. I've been a chef. I've worked in a factory 4 months ago.
Yeah, you have done.
I've done a lot of jobs now, and I just constantly have to leave because there's constantly something else that comes up that work just won't let you do.
For me, it's been. I mean, I've kind of been lucky in. So I when I finished uni, I went and worked in a bar, and I worked various restaurants as a chef. But then I got into like the function scene, playing music, covers in at weddings basically, and that I was kind of able to work everything around that because you are self-employed. But the difficulty comes when obviously you have to take that work in order to afford things like rent, and then an original gig comes up, which is like an important original gig, and then you're trying to balance like, okay, I do need that extra few £100 to cover my rent, but this is a huge deal, a huge gig. And sometimes in this band, I've had to say, look, guys, we can't do that gig because realistically, if I don't get paid any money, then I can't afford rent, then I'm going to be stressing. So it's finding the balance between, especially at the moment where we've just got a booking agent, and so gigs are coming in thick and fast.
Yeah.
It's kind of like trying to work out.
I'm going to get some good stuff now.
Yeah, and with weddings and stuff, it's they've been booked in advance, so I know my schedule for these weddings, but it's kind of like balance. It's just finding a balance. And I do a lot of other stuff as well. Like, I mean, I'm working in a restaurant in Leeds tomorrow. I kind of do multiple different things to
Jack of all trades.
Yeah, because then, I mean, also for me, I don't get bored of stuff. Like I quite like being able to do lots of different stuff. It's like nice not having to just kind of go back to the same place all the time. So I do have that luxury, but it's taken a while to.
And of course, you started a wonderful business yourself.
I'm trying to start a business doing van conversions.
They're actually amazing. They're very good.
Yeah, so during lockdown, I mean, obviously lockdown was pretty heavy hitter for a lot of people. So I mean, for the function and the wedding scene and being a self-employed musician, it was like no work basically.
Yeah.
But luckily enough, I got the self-employment grants. I was able to go on universal credit, and that was a huge help. So I invested. I managed to invest like a bit of my savings and money that I'd saved up into this, into a van conversion. So I started basically bought a panel van, like a big empty van, and then did it up over lockdown.
That's an incredibly proactive thing to do.
Yeah, I mean, it was. I think I don't even know how I got to the idea of it. I think I was having a conversation with somebody, and it felt like it was a safer way to where to put my money, because everyone's thinking of how can I invest this money? How can I find something which is going to So I did it, and it was great fun. I just watched loads of YouTube videos and learned loads of skills. Like, luckily, my dad had tools that I could borrow. But yeah, I mean, there was a lot of things that went fucking wrong, but then it ended up going really. By the end of it, it was great, and I sold it, and made a good amount of money on it, and that was really nice. Yeah, it was really good. And then I got a client from doing that one, so it's kind of starting to snowball a little bit. The first one I did took me oh God, it must have taken me a year and a half.
That's quite a long time, isn't it?
Yeah, it wasn't full time. It was because I was getting money through, and it was like I couldn't afford to do the part until I got this money through. So I was kind of like, oh, universal credit. I'm going to spend 200 quid of this universal credit on this thing for the van. It got to the end, and then I started going back to work, and I managed to finish it as things started to open up again. And then I got which it was quite a big van. So this was like it was Peugeot Boxer, a big van. But then someone approached me who had a smaller van, and it only took me 2 months to do that next van.
Wow.
Yeah.
Once you know how to do everything, you must fly by.
Well, the great thing was with this, the second one I did, is that the guy was funding everything, so there was no stop or start. It was like, here you go. What do you need to buy? And I was just like, this, and he was like, okay. And then he just gave me the money to buy it all. It was all there, and I could put it in.
People who are buying those conversions, those camper vans, are people who have money, right? People who have stable jobs and have done presumably for quite a long time, and they want to spend it on something nice for themselves.
Yeah, exactly that. And
so they're prepared to
spend a lot of money, because they're not cheap, especially after lockdown. They became, it was like a huge trend in it. Everyone was getting them because of, all the problems with flying to places and this whole staycation thing. So, so far it's been, I'm looking to kind of expand it a little bit. I'm looking for additional work, but what's lovely about it is I'll still be self-employed. So working this around the music would be a really ideal situation until potentially and hopefully we get to the stage where we actually are just living from the music.
Clearly, you're a bit of an entrepreneur, looking at what's working, right? Looking at what people are really willing to spend money on, looking at what you can afford to start it up.
It felt like, for me, I didn't have to invest a huge amount of money, but it felt like if I put enough work into that van, even if I only broke even, from that I would learn maybe the skills which could work for the next van. And it just so happened that the time that I decided to sell it was probably the most perfect time it could have ever needed to be sold, which was about maybe 2 or 3 months before everything opened. So it was kind of
That's great, isn't it?
I put it up for sale, and I'd sold it within a week. It was. I remember being like, "What the fuck? It's gone!" Like this girl messaged me, and it was within. The advert had been up on. I used something called Quirky Campers, which is like kind of more bespoke camper vans rather than going on like eBay or other selling platforms. And within half an hour, this girl had messaged me, and she'd come to view it the day after, and then it was sold by the week later.
It is a great idea. There's a lot of young professionals wanting to live out a hippie dream.
When a lot of bands go on their first tour, I'm not sure if a lot of bands actually, I think they end up losing money because you're paying for fuel and you're getting these gig fees which are not really covering enough of anything. If you're paying accommodation for 5 people in London and the fee is 100 quid, it's like. But what we were finding is that the merch we were selling. So we were still getting a smaller fee, but we might be doing £300 on merch. And our home show in Leeds, we did over £700, and it's like you kind of start to realise that it's not just the money. The money doesn't come from just playing shows and getting loads of streams. It is like the products you are selling is a huge part of it. And I think for us, I was definitely became more aware of that. We broke even on the tour, which I think is like quite a good thing.
That's a hard achievement. For
a first tour.
It was your first tour.
Yeah, that was the first one. Yeah, and we broke even, which it's obviously sounds like that's what you should be doing, but I think it's quite a good thing.
It's such an underpaid industry for the artists.
Well, I was going to say, you hear all the time, like any companies that start, all these massive companies, you read about how they're in debt for the first 10 years. Yeah. It's sort of like the world we live in a way.
Yeah, and it's exactly the same with bands. I wouldn't be surprised if most big bands now were in debt for 10 years. I suppose that is what a record deal is.
In the function scene, so obviously playing live music at weddings, it is like the complete opposite. So it's like we do a gig. I mean, the wedding industry, obviously, the people are pumping thousands and thousands and thousands of their own money into it for this like big special day. But it's like we do a gig, a headline show in Leeds, and we do 300 people, nearly sold out gig, and we'll get like £250 for 5 people playing a show. Whereas I can go and play a wedding, and it's sometimes £400 per person. And it's like crazy.
Insane.
Those two industries, you're still playing live music, but you're playing somebody else's songs and getting paid 5-6 times the amount.
Sounds like it requires like a lot of patience, or at least like sort of knowing why you're doing it.
Oh yeah, you got it. Yeah.
Well, you're not doing it for the money, are you? Really, we're doing it because we love it. It's great fun, and I think that's probably one of the reasons why people stick it out, is because obviously there's the dream, you can make money from this, but it is, when you've been doing it for your whole life, it's just becomes something which you want to do even more and even more and even more.
It's so like so open with everyday life now for all of us, probably, that you kind of just accept not getting paid much, because it just is your life, which we love.
And it's like small things are like a big deal. We're supporting Pond. I think we get paid. I mean, obviously, again,
we get pennies, but it's more about.
It's like, wow, that's actually massive. That's like a huge win for us. Like another step in the right direction. And you just start to see these things, and everything feels good, and they keep snowballing, and things get bigger. And that's why I think we all feel like that right now at the moment.
Those moments must feel like ecstasy. They're like, oh, we made this. We did this.
Because also there's like a lot of like background stuff where it is just grafting or just like sitting in a van hungover and sweaty for hours just to get to another sound check, and writing for hours and rehearsing for hours just for the little wins like every month or so. That's like a big win to us. It makes it completely worth it when we get stuff through like that.
Having an album and a first tour around the same time, that's a lot going on in a couple of months. Yeah. How are you able to sort of plan next year? Or
well, we're trying to do that at the moment. Actually, we've had a meeting with our label about the next album, and that's ongoing because we're going to be looking at using an exterior producer, because the first album was all recorded and produced by Harry and Dan, who mixed and produced together. Harry mixed it, they recorded it together. And now we're going to be looking to work with a producer, but that means different things to do with the way that the budget is spent has to be thought about very clearly. So that's going to take a while to really work out the logistics of all that. But it's just amazing to have an album out. It's just mad. Like Sam you were in HMV the other day and you found it.
Yeah, I went into HMV and I was just like,
that's huge. It's huge that we're in HMV.
Have you got this album? It's by a band called Eades, Delusion Spree, and she was like, yeah, we do. It's over in the E section. I was like, yes, like trying to find this album.
You got to take a photo with it.
It's over in that dusty section over there where no one buys the album.
What other moments that have happened that you can kind of like immediately think, fucking yes, that was a rewarding feeling? For
me, it was ending the first album tour at Brudenell Social Club, which we pretty much sold out. I think we were a couple tickets off selling out. But like walking off stage, like firstly walking out on stage and seeing the full room, because I'm from Leeds and my whole life I've just idolized that venue. I grew up seeing the Cribs there, and then watching the Cribs play that room on YouTube a million times.
Yeah,
to actually stand on the stage and do it myself, and to be headlining with like best mates in a band that I absolutely love being in. It's
just great, like seeing people like sing the songs. Like it's like you see people and it's like these random people you've never seen before, and they're singing the songs that the band that you're in has made, and it's like, I know it's just like a nice thing, isn't it? It's like,
that was just one of the special gigs. There's a good photo of us after, completely sweaty, like passed out on a sofa.
What's nice as well is like I've been in various different bands, throughout the year. Like I was in after uni, and I had a project of my own, and it really feels like when you're doing these things, like you're actually on the road and you're playing show after show after show in front of crowds of people. Because you kind of get used to playing when you're doing other shows. Like, oh yeah, we'll play this gig, and it's like, oh, you're playing a support slot, and there's like 5 people there or something like that. But we were actually getting crowds of people in these places who had come down to see us. They were asking us to like sign stuff. It's surreal, really.
Bad to us, yeah. It's foreign to us.
Yeah.
Especially like a place like Bristol, which is just miles away. And we had 280 people get tickets before we got there.
That's so good.
Mad to us. We just feel like we're still like brand new, fresh out the womb. We are.
Do you feel like you're ready to like take that on and live up to whatever you feel that kind of entails?
100%. It's taken too long to get to this point already. So we better be ready, because
I also don't think it's something that you just. I mean, I don't know if you can be ready for it. I think you just want it and you just go with it, if that makes sense. You just kind of every moment that comes, because I don't think people really expect as they get bigger. Like, I don't know if people actually know what it's like until you reach that stage, if that makes sense.
Well, you're always looking behind, right? You're always looking back, being like, "Oh, that happened."
Yeah.
You just. It just seems like
it totally happens so slowly that you have to look quite far back to be like, "Oh, this stuff happening now is quite weird," considering I was there 2 years ago.
Right.
Yeah.
Rather than it being surprising you, it just happens very gradually, very slowly, and we're only at the start of any of that.
It feels like we're kind of like the tip of the iceberg, but we're still got quite a lot of momentum, like coming off the back of the tour, and just certain things. Like now we've got the booking agent, so like gig opportunities just flying in. Like we're playing our first shows in Europe in October, and it's just kind of like surreal things. Like what you know when you're like growing up, like I want to be in a band, I want to do that. This is what you wanted when you were.
Yeah, I always dreamed of like just traveling and being able to do that by playing music, and that's actually starting to happen.
Yeah.
I remember local bands from where I was from, going on their MySpace, and they would have, you'd be scrolling down their MySpace page, and you'd be like scrolling and scrolling and scrolling through these dates, being like, "Wow, like fuck's sake, like I need to do that."
Yeah, 100%. That's the dream. Just having dates on the calendar is the dream, because that's not easy. Just to start a band and get gigs is just hard as it is.
Thanks so much for being up for doing this.
Yeah, no problem. It's been a lot of fun.
Like I said, I love the album. It's got such a wicked sound to it, and knowing that it's self-produced with the next thing, thinking about having a producer and thinking about structuring the album in that way, in terms of the way you're making it. Is it going to be like demoing the whole time and sending it to the producer? How involved are you going to ask that producer to be? What's the feeling on that?
We've already demoed it.
It's already fully demoed.
Yeah.
Like Harry has pretty gone to town on it, hasn't he? So he's got the full demo. So it's just kind of the main thing is just coming up with the right way to approach, like we mentioned before, I guess, with the budget. We've actually just applied for this. There's like a PRS Momentum Fund.
Yeah.
So, I mean, obviously, there's going to be a lot of bands applying for it. But if we did get that would be huge.
That would open up a lot,
because it would mean that we can focus on kind of getting the producer that we want in, and just being a bit like more free and not having to worry about like, if we need a certain amount of days, we need to finish everything within those days, and we need to.
Yeah.
So if that comes in, I think the label will be super happy as well, because they've been talking about like the other side of it, like the marketing and all that. And
and you want to put money into that, right? Obviously,
exactly.
smart money, or money smart.
Exactly.
Suppose, but still, that's money.
Yeah. So
who's the dream producer? I've got to ask.
Well, we've not got anything confirmed right now.
Who do you like to do it? I'm sure if they heard this, they wouldn't mind.
A girl called Danielle who did Wonder Horse's album recently, and we're thinking about that. And we spoke to Ross Orton recently at a gig, and he is we're talking to him about possibly doing it with him. Nothing's confirmed yet. That would be amazing if we did do it with him.
He did the AM by the Arctic Monkeys.
He did the Fall. He did Yard Act.
I mean, we played. We were on a tour. Did a few dates with a band called Goa Express.
Yeah.
And he came down to one of the shows, and I think Tom and Harry got chatting to him, and he was really into it. And we had a meeting with him. Was it yesterday? We had a meeting with him.
2 days ago.
So we had a meeting with him, and basically he wants to come down. He's going to come down to rehearsal next week. So there's nothing is confirmed, but
yeah,
I think we'd like to do one of the demos with him just to see if how we all work together. You know what it comes out like.
Cool. Working Men's Club.
Yeah.
MIA. Tricky.
Yeah.
From Bristol.
Yes.
Yeah.
Nice.
Pretty big names on his card.
Wicked.
I think just being able to go into a studio though, and like, you know, because I mean, it was recorded themselves. These guys. I mean, I wasn't in the band when this first album was recorded.
Yeah, we just booked a cottage in the Yorkshire Dales and took all of our gear with us and spent 15 days there, I think.
What?
And recorded.
Great.
Yeah, recorded 17 songs. I think it was 17 or 15. Can't remember.
That sounds like a lot of fun.
I was drunk the whole time. There's a documentary we've just released actually that I videoed most of the time we were there and left with like 20 hours of footage that Harry then edited. I can't watch it now because it's like if you go on a night out and you see loads of Instagram stories of yourself, the amount of cringe you get from that. It's that times 100 because it's an hour long of me just shouting at the camera and stuff.
But if you guys want to watch it,
it's on YouTube.
It's on YouTube. It's called What's it called? Expose Exploration: The Making of Delusion Spree.
That's exactly it. Just type it. I'm sure it'll come up.
Yeah, it's a good watch.
It's not a good watch. It's a watch.
It
is.
There's great moments in it.
There's some. It's good for us. I don't know how it is for everyone else.
It's kind of, you know. Have you watched the Beatles documentary Get Back?
Yeah.
It's exactly like that.
It's
well, cheers. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Giles.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
So there was Eades on 101 part-time jobs. I'm going to get the train down to 2,000 trees. Like I said, those 2023 tickets are on sale now at 20% the price. Go and snap them up. Here's Cocksparrow.
I've been working all day for me mate on the side, running around like a blue ass fly. I've been working all day for me mate. Every bleeding minute I've been on the go, up and down the ladder like a fiddler's elbow. I've been working all day for me mate.
This is a Mighty Moon Media podcast.